You're listening to the Divinely Uninspired podcast from Journey Church with my friends Penny, Jeremy, and Paul. They're the problem, it's them.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Divinely Uninspired podcast, and that was our brand new theme song from our good friend Taylor Swift, and Penny hooked that up. You know, they're best buds.
We are.
We put out the call last week, you know, talking about a new theme song, and, you know, the stars came running. So, Penny, how are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain much. It's Christmas, and, you know, the best time of the year. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah, I don't feel great today, but I'm here.
Jeremy's very ill. He's being a trooper.
Yeah.
Being here for our special Christmas episode. Now, Taylor was not the only person to send us a personal hello, a shout out. So another one of Penny's good friends sent us this. Well, and I've muted the audio from that.
Penny is like my honorary sister. Kimmy loves you, girl.
That was Kim Kardashian. She sent a hello to Penny as well. Best buds. So
Wow.
I've been playing with AI this week.
Can we get Ric Flair next week?
Ric
next
Flair
episode?
was not on the list.
Ric Flair was not on the list?
No, but I mean, he might be in the room if we could. Woo!
Yeah.
And that's all I got. I'm sorry.
It was not very Ric Flair like.
Well, hey, you know what? I don't got much. So
I've come up with a new so I listened to a couple podcasts. I guess we'll talk about stuff we love, but Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan have been making the rounds on some of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'll have to send them to you because I know you're a wrestling fan, but like the stories they tell are insane.
I can't imagine the Ric Flair stories. So
like Ric Flair I thought Hogan was going to be like intense. Ric Flair is unreal. Like some of the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy.
Well, I love hearing a lot of them because you're like, are you still just working us? Is this still wrestling character or did this stuff happen? But I feel like as long as they've been around, a lot of this stuff happened.
Yeah. Ric Flair is pretty wild.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean,
he's a nature boy.
No reason to get into that now. So
anyway, I was just saying.
This episode, we are wrapping up 2023. This is our Christmas episode. But I thought before we get into the Christmas spirit, we could talk about some of our favorite stuff of 2023. So is there anything that stood out this year as far as entertainment, things like that you all would want to share with the people that they might enjoy going into next year? A lot of people are getting time off now. They could enjoy some catching up on books or movies or podcasts.
Is there? I don't know. I don't. Penny, go ahead.
It was in the email. I'm just
saying. I know.
We have all kinds of stuff that happened this year. Well, Oppenheimer's now available to rent, so you need to watch that, right?
Okay.
So have you all watched it yet?
No,
not yet.
Rent?
What?
When's it going to come out?
I did watch the Barbie movie.
Barbie's out for free.
It was okay.
Oh man.
An okay from him is pretty good, actually.
It was
Barbie.
It was okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to hate on it. It was not my favorite.
If Ryan Gosling doesn't win the Oscar, we riot because the best performance of the year. The man's 75 years old. He's got abs.
He's not 75.
I know. He's
like our age.
Yeah, well, it feels like 75 more than 20. So,
well, Spider-Man also, the Miles Morales Across the Multiverse came out 2023.
Okay.
You can watch that on Netflix.
Now, are we doing ads for streaming?
I mean,
what is your favorite stuff? Are these
like my favorite stuff this year?
Yeah.
As far as like what? There's all kinds of things.
Well, let me rephrase this. So in the email that I send out to everyone that they skip over before the podcast.
2023, those are movies from 2023.
Well, they are. What is some of your favorite stuff that you would recommend for people? I'm sorry. I must have misworded it.
Well, we talked about all the cult shows. I watched a lot of cult shows this year.
Yeah. What was your favorite cult show?
The Way Down, I think, was really good.
And what is that on?
That is on... Well, there's actually 3 different versions of it. There's one that's on Lifetime, which is actually like a movie about this lady. And then there's one that's on HBO Max or whatever it's called now. And I think we talked about that one, but that one was good. And there's another one that it was like a news story. I can't remember. It was like a 2020 or something like that. But yeah, that one was fascinating because it's still going on. So
an ongoing documentary. That's good. Or an ongoing situation.
Yeah, there's another documentary on Netflix called Take Care of Maya. Did you watch that?
No.
You need to.
Okay.
It's really, really interesting.
All right.
It's about a little girl who has a really rare disease, and the parents are trying to figure out what's wrong with her, trying to take care of her. And the hospital gets involved because they think that the parents are making it up. So
I know what you're talking about.
Child services gets involved. The mother actually ends up committing suicide. Like, it's a very interesting story. So
I think where I'm at, and I think I don't know if we've talked about this, there's so much content, it's hard to know what to watch. Because right. I feel like we have Hulu, we have Netflix, we have HBO Max. It's overwhelming because every time you click it on, like there's something new that they're recommending that you watch that looks good. And I find myself, because I get overwhelmed with all of it, that I just go back to the classics. So like I'm rewatching The Office again, which I know we talk about a lot. I've just rewatched Ted Lasso again, so like
it's comforting.
It is. But I feel like there's just so much content out there right now. It's overwhelming. And then also I hate getting behind on stuff. And so if I get behind on like a series, I just give up.
I feel the same way. And with all the stuff, like you all were recommending a movie to watch on Netflix, and I need at least 2 or 3 recommendations before I spend the time to look at something. So what was the movie the End of the World movie that you all were saying was good on Netflix?
I'm looking it up right now. It was good.
I can't remember.
They don't know the name because there's a million movies out now. But
I liked the way that it was written. And it wasn't like the best movie, but it's good to sit down and watch. I mean, it's long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I saw it. I was like,
Leave the World Behind.
Leave the World Behind.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.
You never really know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like you never really know what to expect.
So the other day I got recommended on Netflix. I don't know why. I got recommended to watch Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, because there's a new one coming.
Yeah.
So I
rewatched Beverly Hills Cop, all 3 of them.
Oh.
And it was not at the same time because that would be depressing.
I've never seen Beverly Hills.
Oh, I love Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, it's Eddie Murphy at his finest.
Yeah. I didn't see Coming to America until like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What?
Amazing. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like I keep going back and watching old stuff versus I get overwhelmed with all the new stuff. And so, I mean, I have watched some new stuff this year that's been pretty good. But I mean, there's some movies and stuff.
Anything stand out that was good this year?
I mean,
make this happen.
Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing. So when I watch TV, a lot of times at the end of the day, depending on what type of day that I've had, I like stuff that makes me think. Like Leave the World Behind is like kind of one of those makes you think about things and stuff. But sometimes, man, I just want to watch something and just not think. And so I think we talked earlier. I watched Gray Man this year with it's on Netflix. It's Ryan Gosling as well.
Yeah.
It's just 2 hours of him just beating up people and shooting people. I watched that and thought it was good. I don't know if you've ever seen the Equalizer movies by Denzel Washington.
No.
There's 3 of them, and it's just mindless, just like he's like this CIA agent that has all these like special skills, and I don't know, it's just like movies you watch and you're just like, all right, these people are going to get destroyed by the good guys,
Well, listen, I get it. I went through my list of movies that I've seen this year to think of what would be my favorite. And I came upon Fast X was my movie of the year that you really should watch. I recommend the latest Fast and the Furious.
No.
It's horrible.
Well, okay, I was going to say, I thought you were going to recommend it.
It's like 2.5 hours, and it's insane. It's not well written. It's not well acted, except for Aquaman, who's the bad guy. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Because he knows he's in a bad movie, and he's just like, I'm in a bad movie. Deal with it. I'm making money, and I don't have to try that hard, and I'm the best actor here. And it's worth your time to sit. Any of them past number 5 have been enjoyable in that way. Where the first 5 movies are some of the worst movies ever, the last 5 so far have been just cinematic masterpieces. I mean, they took a Fiero to space. I mean,
they've got pretty ridiculous. My favorite Fast and the Furious moment is, I can't remember which one it is because I don't, not that into them, but I do watch them because they are entertaining. Like if nothing else, they're entertaining. I mean, they are awful plots and the acting's not great, but they're entertaining.
Yeah.
And is the one where they're on that giant plane and it's like a 20-minute fight / chase scene, and they estimated that for the plane to be going as fast as it was, that runway would have had to been 200 miles long. I don't know if you like. It's insane. Like it's a whole 20-minute where this plane is like about to take off, and there's car chases and fighting. The whole scene lasts like 20 minutes, and like it's insane because you're like, when is this plane going to take off? And then somebody like did the math on it and said at the speed that the plane was going, they would have had to been on a runway 200 miles long. And it's like, did nobody stop to think like, hey, like that's not believable at all?
The best moment, and I would say the best moment in the series, and maybe the best moment in cinema in the last 50 years. In one of them, The Rock has a broken arm. He's got a full cast on. He's in the hospital bed talking to his daughter, and outside the window, something blows up in the distance, and he looks out the window and he flexes his arm so his cast breaks off, and he says, "Daddy's got to go to work." And like, what? I'm in. It's so terrible, but I stood up and cheered.
I'm looking at things I watched this year. I did rewatch Band of Brothers, which again, that's old. See, I keep going back to old stuff. Like, but if you never watched Band of Brothers, it's probably one of my top favorite shows of all time.
Same.
Yeah, I love.
Really
Is that on Netflix now?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an HBO show, but
we rewatch that all the time. That's probably one of our shows we rewatch constantly.
I watched that one. A lot of big actors before they were big actors are in it. So yeah, it was good.
So we've been watching, one of our mindless shows is like, we watch a lot of YouTube now. We love just channels. They're just fun to watch. So the Outdoor Boys, there's a man named Luke, and he has 3 sons, and they live in Alaska. They're young kids. They're like all younger than 10. And he is the dad that takes them out and like goes camping, and they go exploring and go do all these fun stuff. And it's like, that's awesome. It's so much fun to watch. Like we watch it with our kids and just enjoy exploring. The Outdoor Boys.
I will say something, Paul, you'll like, and a lot of our listeners may like, the 10 that are still listening to us at this point, is Wrestlers on Netflix. So it's about OVW wrestling. It's Matt Jones that owns KSR. Everybody knows I'm a Kentucky fan. But it's actually really good, and it actually got rated this year as like one of the top 10 shows you have to watch by like the New York Times or whatever. But it's called Wrestlers, and it's all about these like, I don't know if you know about it, but it's actually really, really good.
We're in Kentucky. Our governor actually has or our mayor of Louisville has a part of ownership of that company that it's about. It's interesting to go, oh, well, that's our mayor.
Because it's about wrestling, but it's really not. It's about like hopes and dreams and like all the. But it's really good. But it's made right here in Louisville.
Well, so I actually did some work at that OVW center where they have it. They had a. Is it about OVW or is it about Derby? Is there another group?
It's primarily about OVW, but there's a lot of like connection because those guys like start off like wrestling in bars and stuff, and then as they get bigger, they go to OVW, and then that feeds, I guess, the WWE or whatever. And but anyway, so yeah.
Well, they had a wrestling school in that building as well called Derby City Wrestling, and we were there helping some woman out that was going to be a wrestler, and they had this big crate of the old. Like the pads they would put on the corners that had the old WWF logos. Yeah. That they were just storing there. And if
I talked about it,
if I was a different person, I would have just stolen a whole box of those because that was, to this day, 10 years later, I'm like, I could have had a whole box of the turnbuckle pads. Oh, sad.
Have I talked on the podcast about my John Cena story?
No.
Oh, so John Cena and Batista both.
John Cena, star of Fast and Furious.
Star of all kinds of things now. So people will know this even if they don't like wrestling. John Cena and then Batista, who plays in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. He's whatever his name is.
He's friends with the tree.
Drax, yeah. So anyway, long story short, so they used to wrestle in OVW. Well, OVW used to have a deal with Hester's Fitness where a lot of people around here work out, where they could work out for free there. So like you'd run into like Al Snow and I think his wife is Victoria that helps him run OVW or something. And then you would also run into, one time I ran into, what's the crazy guy that had the beard, that like the puppet guy? Cactus Jack.
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley was there one time. Anyway, so you'd see them every once in a while and it kind of became whatever. But John Cena and Batista were up in there. And so you would see them all the time. And these guys, like, I know they're wrestlers and you're like, oh, they're big. You don't realize how big these guys, they're ginormous. But anyway, so I didn't see Batista a lot, but I did see John Cena. And at the time, his name was The Prototype, was his OVW name. But one day he's in there and he's working out and he's bench pressing an ungodly amount of
rack.
He's
just got the whole thing, yeah.
And he's in there by himself and he looks over at me and he's like, "Can you spot me?" And I had this moment of like, I can't say no. That's like gym etiquette. But I'm also like, if he can't lift this, there's no way that I'm going to be able to assist in this at all. So anyway, just one time I spotted John Cena.
Wow. He's a good guy.
He was a super nice guy. They were all, he was, of course, nobody knew he would go on to become, he's probably outside of like Hulk Hogan and The Rock, like Stone Cold, like one of the biggest wrestlers ever.
He's probably in top 5 all time.
But he was a super nice guy. So anyway, there's my John Cena story.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a time when OVW was the like minor leagues for WWF, and we're losing some of those 10 listeners that were still on. So,
all right, let's move on. But no, I think all right.
So movies and shows. Anything else this year? Any books, podcasts, anything? We'll just jump into the Christmas stuff.
Got books?
Anything? Any recommendations? I'm just looking for anything for the people out there who love us and who want to know about.
I read all the time. I'm trying to think if there's any books that like just really stuck out to me this year. A lot of the books I read, unfortunately, are for work. It's not that they're not good, but they're just like I'm going into them, diving into. Well, I'm not saying the Bible, obviously, but let me look real quick. Penny, got any books down there you recommend?
Yeah, so I know I read a lot of stuff for work too, but I went back and started reading a lot of the classics this year. So I reread like Little Women, I reread The Color Purple and Pride and Prejudice. So I'm on to Sense and Sensibility. So I've got tons of books that I've already read, but I'm rereading.
Have you ever read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
No. If you like Pride
and
Prejudice.
Did
they make a movie about it? I know they did the Lincoln one, but did they do the Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies
I don't know.
movie?
They made the Lincoln Vampire Hunter. They made a whole series of the classics that are in public domain. There was, I tried to read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but it's just Pride and Prejudice, and then it's written in that same language, and then they just add zombies, so it's hard to read.
Great. So for my Christmas, we always do Christmas lists in our house, and I gave one to Terry, and usually they're really ridiculous. Like I'll come up with something crazy, like a swimming pool or something. This year I asked for first edition Pride and Prejudice and first edition The Color Purple, and I don't think my husband quite understood like how expensive those. So he sent me a text like 4 weeks ago. He's like $20,000. He's like, "Are you serious right now?"
And you said, "Am I not worth it, honey?"
I said, "Fine, don't get it."
They also had Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, I think, was one of them.
Oh, that's great.
It was a thing for about 6 months, 20 years ago. So.
I appreciate them a lot, the books a lot more now than I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So books I read this year that I could recommend. I mean, like I said, a lot of them are for work, and it's not that I don't think people would enjoy them, but a lot of them are. I mean, they're nerdy books. Like it's like because I mean, in my job I talk about the Bible, but I mean, ones that I recommend. I read Curveball this year by Peter Enns. I highly recommend anything Peter Enns writes. Don't Give Your Enemy a Seat at the Table by Louis Giglio. It's a pretty easy read. So that was a good one that I read. I love Bob Goff. I know a lot of people probably not listen to this podcast, but a lot of people are wishy-washy on Bob Goff. But Undistracted by Bob Goff was actually really good. Actually, a good one that it's pretty deep, but people might like that I read recently is How God Became King by N.T. Wright. So if you listen to my sermons, you hear me quote N.T. Wright a lot. And that was actually a good one that I read this year. I read everything N.T. Wright writes, but that was a good one that's pretty easy to access. And so How God Became King.
Well, thank you. That's good stuff. See,
yeah.
I knew I would get it out of you guys eventually. So
you got it.
All right. Well,
I'm also like heavily dosed on a lot of Dayquil right now, so I'm a little foggy.
I mean, if you're listening to a lot of these podcasts, you never know what's going to
Yeah. So
speaking of that, I listened to last year's Christmas episode to get ready for this one, and a lot of talks of mushrooms last year. So,
mushrooms, okay.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so we will transition into the Christmas portion of our Christmas episode with the official Christmas song of the Journey podcast.
Hey, chingity ching! It's Dominic the donkey.
Oh, we did this before. Dominic the donkey.
This was last year's.
Oh, by the way, throwback.
I laughed so hard.
So one thing I was working on, going back to last episode, I guess, was I was really trying to get a Cake Boss cake here. And I guess when they made the announcement, like you can't find them anywhere. Like Walmart used to sell them.
What?
So Walmart literally used to sell Carlo's Bakery products. And so I was like, I'm going to get us a cake. And it's sold out everywhere now. So I mean, people apparently have just gone
divinely uninspired.
Crazy.
It was our podcast.
They found out through us, and then. But I was gonna bring a cake in here and let us try it, and then, but I can't find them anywhere.
Broken promises.
Effort.
That's all right.
Yeah.
He could have not done any of that. We'll take his word for it.
No, really, I looked into it, and Carlo's Bakery, they literally sell them at Walmart, which was shocking to me that.
Yeah.
But they do sell them at
Listen,
Walmart.
that's where the money is. People laugh at Walmart, but if you get your stuff in Walmart,
which makes me think that the guy, the cake boss, again, I still don't know who he is, but if he was as famous as you guys claimed he was,
no, you guys know.
as Pity says, makes me think that if he's selling his product at Walmart, that was mass produced somewhere, and he probably had.
Well, he didn't make it hand by hand. Remember those commercials for Taco Bell where they had that woman come in and they were like, "She's back there making this these artisan tacos." I'm like, no.
What is Taco Bell too? While we're talking about it, so we're going random. Their marketing, Pete Davidson is now marketing taco. Like, wait, I don't.
He's gross.
I don't understand. They're advertising to stoners.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's
just like he did have a good point though. I mean, that one commercial was like, it's Taco Bell and they don't have a breakfast taco. Like, but now they do. But they've never had a breakfast taco.
Those
before.
AM Crunch Wraps are the only thing I get at Taco Bell, and they are the best things. So
I like Taco Bell.
I'll stand by that. The rest of Taco Bell is gross.
We know you like nachos and cheese.
Yes, I do. Nachos and cheese.
Oh, all right. Hot take from Penny at the Taco Bell. So we are at our Christmas time of the year, and last year, if you listened, and if you want to go back and listen, the crew broke down the worst Christmas songs of all time, and I know I love my annual Jeremy rant about Mary Did You Know?
It's the worst.
And Kyle, that was his last episode on the podcast, and if you listened, you know why. But I agreed with him in his take of Christmas shoes, pretty rough, but I wanted to make it positive this year. And are there Christmas songs that you all love? What is your favorite Christmas song, Jeremy?
My favorite Christmas. Well, so everybody here thinks I hate Christmas. I don't hate Christmas songs. I don't want to listen to them all month long. Like I think like the week of Christmas is like, let's roll it out. Silent Night is probably one of my favorites. O Come Emmanuel. I mean, I like the classics. So those are the church songs. I actually do like some every once. I mean, people don't know this about me, but I actually like the Bing Crosby Christmas album. So I do play that. It's on my rotation this week.
I would say that's a classic.
I know, but I'm saying people. I mean, I listen to the whole thing. I really enjoy it.
It's a no skip for you kids at home. Yeah. Yep. Well, listening to it last year, that was Penny's stink of Silent Night. She was not a fan. So
it's not that I'm not a fan. It's just it was not a Silent Night.
No. Well, but the whole never mind.
Well, that'll lead us into the second half of this podcast. So, what do you love then? What is a Christmas song?
I like O Come Emmanuel. That's a good one. I like there's a song by Lauren Daigle called Noel, and it's amazing. It's not really like your classic Christmas song, but it's awesome because her voice is just different and just sounds really good. I mean, if you're gonna write an original song, like I'm down for that. Like I like those actually better than I like the original classics.
I like Here We Come a Wassailing. So when I was a kid, I got to sing a solo, and Here We Come a Wassailing.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. The hippopotamus song. That's a good one.
Oh, my kids love that song.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen the video for it, it's real creepy because there's like a 5-year-old girl singing that voice, and it's off-putting.
Oh, I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. That's a good one.
She doesn't want to rhinoceroses. She only likes hippopotamuses. It's
What about you?
Oh, well, I have two. So growing up, my family was very much into old country music. And then somewhere in middle school, they switched hardcore to gospel quartet music. So in spite of my best efforts, these kind of songs, the Statler brothers have a song called Old Toy Trains. And I'm like, this is, it's who I am as a person because it's what my childhood was, but I really like it. And then there's a special place in my heart for, and this is, honey, if you're listening to it, you can fast forward a few seconds. Santa Baby, actually.
What?
So there was
what version?
Well, the version that someone in my middle school did on stage.
Sounds
I don't want to get too much into middle school Paul, but not a boy, but not yet a man. And then this girl sang this provocative song on stage, and it's off-putting, but...
Were you, called up to be, Santa?
No, but in my dreams, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's weird.
So, yeah, I'm not going to put her name out there, but I hope you're doing well. You know who you are.
I actually have a new favorite Christmas song. Of course, everybody knows how much I love Tyler Childers. He's got one that he calls a Christmas song, but it's a whole take on when the angels came to the shepherds, and, they would have no context for what's going on, so it's called The End of the World. And it's basically how they thought that, they were being invaded and all this stuff. But it's just kind of a fun Christmas song.
Well, okay, so last year, I think it was last year, when my parents stopped listening to country music was about the time that I think country music kind of died anyway. Mid-90s, it's been very, sorry for all you that like the Lake Rock kind of country music now, but it's not great. But the guy that has the song about Applebee's and the Oreo shake, that is a terrible song. But it's one of those that...
It's catchy, it's good.
Ironically, you listen to it and you're like, tag on it, this song is in
my
head.
It's
He
catchy.
has done a Christmas version of that, and it is...
I need to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same tune, and it's just for Christmas, and it's just, I'm sure, it's just a cash grab at the time of the year, but it's working. It's on Instagram.
What do you think the number one Christmas song of all time is? It's pretty easy when you think about
Jingle
it.
Bells?
Nope. The most downloaded and played song during
Is
Christmas.
it All I Want for Christmas Is You?
By Mariah Carey.
I was gonna
Good
say.
for her.
That's actually not, I mean, I don't like Mariah Carey, but it is a good song. Yeah, I know it. Wham! Is number 3.
Oh, that's a good song.
With Last Christmas.
One of you all were mad about Paul McCartney's song, and I think it's great too.
Which one?
Which one? None of the Beatles ones. His Christmas song, the moon is right. Da, da, da,
Oh, that was Rusty.
That song is, it's another one of those that's so terrible, but it gets in your head. And you're like, this is fine.
I like that song.
But if you really break it down, those kids were practicing all year long, and then they sing their song, and it's ding dong. If you really listen to the lyrics, it's a bad song. And this is a man who wrote, Hey Jude, things like that. And he also wrote, he needed money later in life too. So good for him.
Yeah.
So what was number 2 then? Before?
Oh, I clicked off the article. I'm sorry. It was on Rolling Stone.
Oh, he would just...
What? This can't be right. I clicked on a different article, and the number 2 song is DJ Play a Christmas Song by Cher.
Oh, that's a new one. Yeah, that's a new hit this year.
Okay.
It is.
Taylor Swift has a song called Christmas Tree Farm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm over. I mean,
she sure does.
I was over Taylor Swift, and then she sent us that great new intro, and now I'm back on the Taylor bandwagon. So
yeah, I don't know what
Travis,
article. This is a bad article.
Yeah, well,
Wait, why? Because you don't agree with it?
Yeah. Isn't that how you rate articles? Is whether you agree with them or not? Isn't that the whole like idea?
It's bad.
I think so. So, all right, well,
Mistletoe by Justin Bieber.
Oh.
I mean,
This is not like this is just songs that people are listening to right now. I'm listening to the most downloaded of this year.
So on Pluto TV, on your smart TV at home, it's a free app, and they have ads, and that's why. But they have different music video channels, and they have a Christmas one. So sometimes in the morning when we were getting ready for school, we'd put that on, and boy, some of these videos, and it's Justin Bieber pre-tattoos, pre-shaved head. Like, it's young Justin Bieber. It's baby Justin Bieber. And my daughter couldn't. She was like, "This is Justin Bieber?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's when he was your age, and now he's..."
Literally gross, too.
you know what I do enjoy at Christmas? Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I just got reminded. I love that album.
I like them, too.
What do they do the rest of the year?
I don't know what they do the rest of the year. That's actually, I mean, they probably make so much money off
Right.
that month that they probably really, I mean, I think the thing about them is there's not just one. Like, I think there's multiple. It's like Blue Man Group, where there's probably like 10 of them.
Oh, okay.
Because they're just playing all over right now. But I mean, I do love Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
They just go with Michael Bublé to the beach and wait for November, and then they're like, "All right, guys."
Wow, what a life.
I mean,
That movie, yeah.
and we talked about this in the another one of our episodes. But Penny, you could start writing some songs and get us some of the Hillsong episode. You know, that's where the money's at.
Like the original songs. That's what
But
we're
I
going to
mean,
do here at Journey.
Mariah Carey, that song came out. Were you in high school or college when that came out?
High school.
So,
Well, for me.
well, we're the same age, so 20-something years, and it's.
What did you just say?
She makes seven.
song came
or
out in
eight
high school.
figures a
All
year.
right, we're about to see how old Pity is.
We know how old Penny is. We talk about it every episode.
I want to say like my sophomore year.
She's like 4 hours older than us. I don't understand why we give her such a hard time.
I mean,
Let's
she's
see.
a good 6 months older than me. That's basic. That's a year. You round up.
And to be fair, I mean,
You
it's,
round up.
listen, it's 6 months, and that is rough. I get in trouble for saying it at home because men.
What year?
I don't
90.
know.
I want to say 98.
97. I say
No,
7.
97. 97. I'm with you.
No, it's too late.
Oh,
What
what
year?
years?
I say 97.
I said 97.
1994.
Wow.
30th anniversary.
So you were in
next
high
year.
school in 1994.
No.
Yeah.
Sweet
Well,
goodness,
I
all right.
assumed it was.
I
because
thought it
we
was
were-
1994. So we were in middle school.
I
Yeah.
can't believe it's that old. Well, good for her.
Yeah,
So,
good for her.
Yeah.
She's still making a career off of it. That's all you really need is one giant song. I mean, she obviously had a lot.
And that's her Christmas hit. That's
I mean,
not
that's
even
what I'm
her
saying.
hits.
Obviously,
Yeah.
she had a much bigger career than that one song. But all you need is that one giant song. I mean, and you're set.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was peak Mariah Carey in 94.
It's like
right.
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Still great.
Thanks. Shout
Still
out to Hootie for the
thriving.
song. Yeah. Still thriving. That's right. He's Hootie. I don't know what the Blowfish are doing. They're probably.
I mean, but
waiting
outside of
tables
Hootie,
at
what's his
Trans-
next biggest song? I mean, an Old Crow Medicine Show cover of Wagon Wheel.
I mean,
That
that
was
was a good
great.
song.
I know, but that's not even his song. You just covered it.
He went country.
Another. Okay.
They were already country. Old Crow Medicine Show is basically
But no,
country.
Hootie wasn't country.
If you want to think of like Snoop Dogg covered it, but it was like another country artist
So-
covering another song.
Well, first of all, that's neither here nor there. Post Malone is putting out a Christmas or a
I love
country
Post
album now,
Malone.
so it's very strange what's going on in the world.
So
But,
Post Malone, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you think? This is we're veering away from Christmas real quick.
It's okay. We'll get back.
So the Blowfish, you know,
Oh, have you?
they're playing music. Hootie's singing, and he's like, "Guys, listen, I'm gonna go do country music." And they're like, "We can play country music," and he says, "I don't know about that." Gwen Stefani left, and no doubt's like, "Well, we could play this music," and she, "What do you think about these bands that the lead singer just blows out? What does the rest of the band do? Do they
Yeah,
tour
I mean,
without-
so we went. I think we talked about this, but we went to Railbird last year, and Marcus Mumford was there without the Suns,
Oh, no.
and
Yeah.
he was playing a lot of their songs, and we were like, "You really need the Suns, man." Like, I don't know you.
Oh,
you,
the Suns were the important part.
I mean, he was great. Don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong, but it would have been much better if the Suns had been there. So
Mm.
I think that's like a big thing. I think all those big artists, and I think too, like part of it is when you think about the biggest bands of all time. I mean, you primarily know the lead singer. You might every once in a while there's like
You got a Slash.
Like I would say like Flea, Red Hot Chili
Yeah.
Peppers may have be bigger than Anthony, whatever his name is. But
Kiedis.
yeah, but like for the most part, you think of the lead singer. So
Yeah.
I think there probably comes a point that they're like, you know what, I'm going to go experiment on my own and see what happens. So
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's a lot of turmoil. Like I think there's even an Apple commercial now for like the new iPhone where it's like a band and they're trying to figure out what their album cover looks like, and they're all like pointing on their because on the new Apple iPhone you can make stickers like Penny, or you could actually like you could click on their faces and it like blurs out everybody else, and they're having this argument about whose face should be on the album cover.
That's funny.
But I think you get into the points with that with bands.
Always the bass player. That's who.
But I mean, I think that's the hard part is like, what if you're like the best bass player of all times?
Yeah.
But you're in a band and your lead singer is getting all the credit. You know, there probably comes a point where you're like, hey, like, seriously?
Well, I mean, Guns N' Roses broke up for years, and Buckethead came in, and they're like, this is not our band. You know, we're not.
But no, Post Malone, I love Post Malone. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the videos where he covers a bunch of Brad Paisley songs.
Yeah.
And then Brad Paisley's like, he actually did that way better than I.
He's very good. It's weird because he's such a weirdo.
And I'm not a big country guy, but I watched the CMAs this year because Chris Stapleton was performing, and I love Chris Stapleton. And Post Malone came on there with two guys that I don't know who they are, but they were doing Aaron Tipton covers for some reason. And they were awful. One of them was like the big guy, like
Jelly Roll.
No, Jelly Roll was on there. It wasn't great, but no, it was two country guys. It was
Watch
like
out.
There's Morgan Wallen and there's this other guy, like Hardy maybe or something.
Is it? It's not Luke, is it?
No, it wasn't Luke Combs. It was Hardy something. Anyway, long story short, these two guys came on and were awful. And then Post Malone came on in the middle of the song and like killed it. And I was like wanting to make sure, because I have to be right, that I wasn't the only one that thought that. So I went on Twitter and like, because that's how you validate that you're right, is going on Twitter. And everybody was like, Post Malone, like just killed it. Like he's so dynamic.
He's very talented, and I mean, I've heard him on podcast, and I never thought much of him because I don't care for his regular music
or his face with all the tattoos.
Well, he does look like a detention desk. That's what I've heard it said, and I think that's because they're not good tattoos, and his mustache looks like two capybaras kissing, and I can't unsee that. But
Sorry, it's funny.
He would. He was talking about his process of writing songs and and I'm like, your songs make no sense. It's all synthesized. Like it's me on my porch yelling at the clouds, but his music was not great. And lyrically, you don't know what's going on. But then he did this country. I'm like, you can actually sing. Why are you making this terrible music?
I'm going to look this up later. So CMA performance, what year was it last year?
It was this year. It was him and it was two country guys. And it could not be Aaron Tipton, but it was somebody that I knew that was in country. Like from the 90s, and they covered two of his songs.
How do you not like Post Malone? He's got some great songs.
I just said I do like Post Malone.
Name two.
You said you didn't. Which one of you?
I don't.
What?
His regular music is terrible in my head.
I like him. I do want to hear this.
It was just Hardy, it says.
CMA. Hardy.
I don't know who that is, so
I don't know.
We'll listen to it and take a quick break while Jeremy has.
We were just so distracted. Jeremy just got up and walked away.
All right, so this is a cut point. Post Malone killed it at the CMAs.
Yep.
And then, so we got our favorite Christmas songs. Is there any Christmas movies that y'all love? And then we'll get on to
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Number one of all times. Number two is Die Hard. Number three is Home Alone.
Not Batman Returns. That's what everybody's doing this year.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Harry Potter. Okay, they don't celebrate the birth of Christ. They're witches and wizards. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. They celebrate Christmas on Harry Potter.
What?
And it makes it a Christmas movie. Okay, whatever.
Why do they celebrate though? That's like the Flintstones Christmas. It doesn't make sense. Why are they celebrating the birth of Christ before he's born?
I don't know, but they say Happy Christmas.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's not Merry Christmas.
I mean, National Lampoon's is just the best.
It really is.
There isn't really a second.
No, I agree.
We're not Charlie Brown's.
I mean, those are like that's like a program. It's only 30 minutes long.
About program. Okay, that's right.
It's a program.
I do like National Lampoon's a lot. My Addie watched it this year for the first time, and she gave it on. So
there's so many things in that movie.
Yeah. No more. Yeah. Well, it's almost like 30 skits instead of a movie.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good. So, all right. So now, after all this time, hopefully Kyle is ready to listen to the good ending of it, where we really get into the theology.
What's your favorite Christmas food?
Favorite Christmas food? Oh man, it's the same stuff we have at Thanksgiving for the most part, is it not?
No, summer sausage.
This was on last year's episode.
I know. I'm saying it again because last year I got 5 boxes of it, so I'm mentioning it again just in case.
Did say, if anybody wants to.
Yeah, is it Hillshire Farms or whatever it is, or whatever? Yeah. But anyway, so
do they still have Hillshire Farm at the mall? Because that used to be a thing.
I haven't been to a mall in 5 years, so
there's that.
Other than go to Topgolf, I haven't been to a mall, so I don't know.
You know what? I went to the mall last week. It was real sad. It's not very Christmassy. It's not very happy. It was very, very disappointing. But there used to be a whole Hillshire at Bashford Manor Mall. They had the whole walk into the store and
then it became a kiosk, and I haven't been recently enough.
And now it's just online, probably.
But yeah, I mean, if anybody wants that, the smoky cheddar is pretty good, and
shameless.
Just go ahead and keep that. Go ahead and keep that turkey summer sausage to yourself, because that's that's not great.
If you were looking for a Christmas offering this year in the plate, just throw a summer sausage in there, and write Jeremy on it, and he'll get that. We'll get it right to him.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
My goodness.
So great.
No, I don't have a favorite Christmas food. I don't.
And those little strawberries they put in there, the little candy. You know,
I
what I'm
don't
talking
like
about?
summer sausage. I don't like
done.
Hillshire
Cut it
Farms.
Yeah.
I don't like any of that. I don't know. All right.
And boiled custard. My kid, so my son, there's a video somebody posted. Boiled custard is
Boiled custard.
You never had boiled custard? It's like eggnog but better.
Oh no.
And so me and my son, we have little shot glasses, and we take a little boiled custard shot every night.
You know,
We're gonna have to cut that.
no, it's also like there's
Little
a
shot glasses.
We had some friends over last night for something, and their kids did it too, and they all thought it was the funnest thing ever. Take a little shot glass.
So I've had eggnog once in my entire life, and it was the non-alcoholic kind, and we did it in college, and we had a contest of who could drink the most before they threw up, and it was a terrible, terrible, traumatic time.
I can't imagine you can drink very much of that.
Less than a gallon, I can tell you that. And it all came back, and there's video of it on YouTube if you want to check that out. So it was some rough stuff. So
boiled custard is awesome.
What? I don't even understand.
That is.
I like frozen custard.
Yeah, it's the same concept. It's just this is liquid form.
So you could get the thing from Culver's, and you could heat it up. And
I'm bringing in boiled custard tomorrow. Y'all going to try it.
Well, I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
You'll be
You
at
can
the
have as
staff
much as
thing.
you want.
That's all we're having to drink is the boiled custard
Oh
at the staff thing. I'm just going to have a big, like,
I have my water.
I'm going to have a Gatorade cooler full of it. You just go up and just.
So gross. That just sounds so nasty.
Why?
Because I don't like the word custard because it has the word turd in it. I don't like. It's like eating grits. It doesn't sound good.
It tastes like melted vanilla ice cream.
Well, they
But-
should
What
call
it
it
tastes
that.
like.
Didn't you say it was hot? You said it was
No, you drink
Boiled.
it
He
cold.
boils it.
No,
You
it's
said you-
boiled custard. That's what it's called. Is boiled custard.
Oh, I thought it was hot.
Oh,
That's what we were like. That sounds awful. No, that's what I really thought.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
frozen
it's-
custard is good. Why would you heat it up?
no, it's basically what frozen custard is made out of, but
Custard?
it's before they like make it into ice cream.
It's
or
ice cream with more eggs.
So
is
this
what
is
we
basically
look
the
it up every
liquid
time.
version of it. But you drink it cold. No, you don't boil it.
That's how we were like boiled custard. That sounds.
How would you take a shot of it? I took
I
my
don't know.
son.
I don't know. We won't. Why would you take a shot?
Elliot's throat is blistered over from.
Well, I mean,
the hot boiling
you blow on it before you take a sip of it.
That's so great. Oh my goodness.
You know what? I forgot. We have those moose mugs from National Lampoons. We got to break those out this week.
Oh, yeah.
One time a year to use them.
A dickie.
No, I don't. No,
You don't have one?
I don't like where this is going. But no, I don't. I have my white sweater. I don't have the black dickie to put underneath it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, so this year, and by this year I mean this episode, we are going to talk about the Christmas Story, and I would say, well,
Another great movie.
oh sweet goodness! All right, here we go.
We are just all over the place today.
Merry Christmas, everybody. What's up?
Jeremy is
a boiled
day
custard.
quill down there.
You said Christmas Story. I said another great movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us one. Yes, A Christmas Story is very good. Yeah.
We went the real Christmas story.
Have you seen
All right.
8-Bit Christmas?
Yeah, it's good too.
It's like the 80s version of that being in the 50s. It's
Yes,
good. It's trying
I
to get
did.
Nintendo. It's very good. All right. So I would say, everybody knows the Christmas Story, but it turns out everybody doesn't know the Christmas Story. And that is what we really want to get into, because the Christmas Story, as it turns out, is way different than the one that apparently the world has learned in Sunday school. So you want to shine any light on how any of this has happened, Jeremy, or you want to just talk about, what's going on with that? Or do you want me to just get into it?
Yeah, just get into it and we'll just talk through it.
All right. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Jeremy, other than his yearly anti-Mary, did you know?
Because she did. There was an angel.
Yeah.
You think you'd
Okay.
remember
Well,
that.
so I love it, and it happens every year. It's happened every year since Journey started. Sometimes, at some point, it'll come up. But Jeremy was the first one that was. He's like, listen, this nativity scene that we've got set up, I don't like it. It's not accurate. It doesn't make any sense. Why are all these people here? Why is this? This is just, it's shenanigans. So I thought, I never really thought about it, because you just coming from the background. I came back in church. The story was an angel came to Mary and said, hey, you're going to have this baby, which proves Jeremy's song thing correct.
Yep.
Then an angel came to Joseph and said, hey, you got to take this lady. She's pregnant. Keep
Well, they were
moving.
already together, but yeah.
Well,
they were betrothed.
But do not leave her
which is a
now
great
that she's
word.
pregnant.
Yeah, don't leave her.
And then it was tax season, so they got on their donkey and they rode to Bethlehem. And
No donkey. Go ahead.
I'm telling the
All right,
story
go ahead, sorry.
as was told to me for years and generations. So they go to Bethlehem. They get there. It's been a long day, and they pull up to the inn, and the innkeeper's like, "Oh, well, it's tax season. What? Did you call ahead? There's no room here, but you know what? Got this stable. If you want to clear out where the animals eat, you can have your baby in there." And then they had the baby all the animals came around and looked at the baby, and then a big star appeared, and then some people came and they brought gifts, and then some more people came and told the baby how great it was, and then they beat it because King Herod was coming to get him. So
what a story.
And that all happened in about 36 hours, in the way they tell the story. So, and for years, that is what, I don't want to put a guess out to the people of various churches, including our own, but I would imagine if you did like street interviews on the way out the door or the way into church, people would say, well, that sounds good. That sounds just about right.
Yeah.
The album that the Toy Train song that I love came from, they have several songs about, we're singing to Jesus on his birthday, and there's a song, No Reservations at the Inn, that was big. And then it's like, it's become a real Christian tradition, and it turns out it's almost 90% false. Or incorrect.
It's not false. It's incorrect to put all of those things together, and things get embellished into the story for sure. But no, I agree with you. Like, I think that I haven't done this, and of course, I don't know if people listen to our podcast, but I've often thought about doing, I think I did one year for Christmas, like ask like, hey, how many wise men were there? Like, there's a gift, like giving out gift cards, and like people were like 3, and like all this stuff. And so there's so many things about the story that people believe that just aren't a part of it, or at least not in the version that we've been given. So, yeah. So Penny.
Well, I guess my question to you about it is, why do we continue the tradition of this story? I know, but literally the kids for the past month, this is the story that we have been teaching them.
Yeah.
So why do we continue it that way? Why was it written that way? Why was it in the Bible that way? And we have...
Well, it wasn't in the Bible that way. It's just we took it and put it all together when it wasn't meant to be like that. So if you actually read the Bible, like the Bible doesn't tell it. If you actually take the 4 accounts, actually what's even more fascinating is there's actually only 2 accounts of Jesus' birth. Mark and John don't even mention it. It's only Matthew and Luke that even like bring it up. But then if you take even the details in there, like the wise men, there's not 3. I could probably Google where we got 3 from, but I didn't do it yet. But I'm sure there's a simple explanation. But there were not 3 wise men. They were the Magi, so they were more like astrologers.
It said because they brought 3 gifts.
Gifts,
so they assume each
gifts.
person brought 1.
Yeah. So there's that. There was no star, right? That over the manger. Yeah. So there none of that. The angels don't sing; they speak the entire time. Even the whole thing of like going to the inn and there being like no room, like that's not actually what the Bible says. That's just, I think a lot of it is just, it just got embellished, and people just kind of told these stories, and they got passed down, and then eventually, it is. I mean, Paul told it in a not as exciting way, but like it is like if you just packaged it like that, like it is a good story.
And he didn't mean Paul from the Bible; he meant me, and that's hurtful.
Well, I mean, you kind of told it a little, but anyway, yeah. So what are we?
This is Relevant Magazine that we like to look at their quote articles. But Jeremy just hit 3 or 4 of their points in a row while not even looking at it. I've been reading more into this, and when they say it was an inn, it was a word they used that he also uses in a different verse that just means room.
Yeah,
and perhaps the article that I read said you. Imagine a stranger coming to your house now and saying, "Hey, my wife is ready to give birth. Can we use one of your rooms?" And they would, well, no, we'd rather you not give birth in this room in our home. So, it's that kind of thing. It wasn't a hotel. So it wasn't a Holiday Inn, and that's what we tend to think. Right.
There is a book called Jesus Through Middle Eastern Eyes, which actually goes through the Christmas story and kind of breaks it down from a cultural perspective of what maybe that night would have looked like, and understanding the inn and how formality worked back then, because if they were going back to the town of Bethlehem, there would have been plenty of family to welcome them home, like to welcome them there, because the women would have been taking care of Mary during the birth. That is, she wouldn't have been doing it on her own, and Joseph wouldn't have been doing it with her. It would have been the women of the family doing it. So the idea that the way that houses were made, or homes back then, were that were they more, I would say, not extravagant, but a larger home in the area would have had a sort of a stable, or where they kept the animals closer to attached to their home. So if it were during that time of the year where all of them had to be in town, there would have been no room maybe in like a bedroom or a living room area, but they could have used that attached part of their home where Mary would have placed the baby, like, I don't know, in a manger.
Oh, I can, yeah.
Yeah. So it was...
like a garage for your animals?
Yeah,
almost?
yeah.
Like you
I
park
guess
your
it would
animals
be.
in
Yeah,
an attached garage.
It's a
That's
really
fun.
interesting book. It really opened my eyes to an idea of seeing Jesus and that type of, how he would have lived culturally. Not like we see the religion part of it, but there's also the cultural part of it. So
Right. Well, I grew up in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school, and my children do as well. And it brought back those memories because my littlest is in second grade, and she was drawing the same pictures we would draw at Christmas time of, it's like, draw me the picture of the Christmas story. And you got your two walls, you got your sloped roof, star on top, mom and dad leaning over the manger where the animals are eating, the animals kind of hanging out by the side, maybe an angel up in the corner, something like that. But it always, like, this is continually, and I mean, for years I've said, well, this is not the actual Christmas story, but this is what still goes along. So, is it important, do you think, Jeremy, that, because it seems like one of those things where, you start telling people about Jesus and they want to know.
I do think
facts.
it's important. I think that part of the problem with the Christmas story is how much, I think it is important. But I think we've romanticized it so much, and that is the bigger issue, is that, it's become, obviously Jesus, God Emmanuel coming to earth is a pretty big deal, but the actual celebration of him coming has become such a big deal, especially with the Christmas season, that there's so much of it that we just keep romanticizing it. That's the songs, that's the, all that stuff. And like I said, I think it's important, and it's a big deal. And I'm not saying, and I have reasons why, but we won't get into it because it's too nerdy and people won't care. I find it fascinating that John, who spent the most time with Mary of all of anybody that we know, doesn't even mention the birth of Jesus in his gospel, which is fascinating because he would have had the most accurate, like, hey, Mary's there, she could tell you exactly what happened, but he doesn't even like bring it up. Like, he starts his gospel out completely differently, and I just think that's fascinating that even for him it was like, all right, that story's kind of going around there and it's good, but we're just going to start with something different. So
yeah, and I hate to just keep bringing this up, but we're hammering your heads over and over when we talk about these things. Read your Bible, people. Like, don't take Jeremy's word for it. Don't take our word for it, for sure. Don't take, what you hear at church's word for it. Go, get into the word. You have it. You could have it on your phone. You don't have to have a book. But if you actually read the story and you start saying, oh, this doesn't, you have this picture in your head of, like, God with the big white beard, surfer Jesus, all these things going on, and you start reading the Bible, and you're like, none of this really checks out at all. This is all, like you said, romanticized. Well, and through the years that they've changed it, and I think the problem has been that, so part of the story of Jesus, why it is so important, is because there's a lot of prophecies that are fulfilled that point to him being, the Messiah. Right. So those are important, and so I don't think the story itself is not important, but I think what's happened is just we've taken it, and like you said at the beginning, we've just kind of lumped it all together to make it this nice, cool story we can tell. And like, but there's just so much of it that, people are like, oh yeah, the prophecies, but they don't even know what prophecies had to be fulfilled. And that's right. Like going back to reading your Bible. Like, if you read your Bible and you understand the importance of this, then you understand why the writers felt the need to include these details. But then we take that and then we make it into this story that just flows, and it's actually not. It's pretty choppy. Not only were there probably not three wise men, they don't even come till probably at least Egypt a couple of years later. I mean, they're not there the night that he's born. But that doesn't tell as good of a story. Well, I think you might have misunderstood when I asked, is it important as Christians to be able to know this, or is it just enough to say, hey, we believe Jesus is the Son of God and he was born? Or what do you think the importance is of people actually getting this story right? Because I feel like so many things I think it's important that we get it right now, and maybe more so for like what Penny's doing with kids, because when you tell somebody a story and then they get old enough to actually comprehend it and read it, and like I said, you could do a quick Google search and you found 2 articles pretty quickly, I would imagine, about the misconceptions and the wrong parts. So you're taught that this is gospel, this is the way it is as a kid, and then all of a sudden you actually start getting to the point where you're questioning things, and all of a sudden
from the very beginning of the story, you find out we've gotten it wrong, and it's like, well, that's kind of a big deal, and so I think that is what my take is. If you're going to tell the story, like, tell it in its proper and don't leave out some of, like, for example, people are not going to like this, but it's true. So this whole census that was taken, there's no historical record that this was something that Rome did. Now, I'm not saying there was a census, and most authors will argue there probably could have been at a time, because we do censuses, and those have been going on for a long time, a local regional census, especially with Herod and stuff taking over. But as far as this worldwide kind of census that it kind of makes it out to be, like, other than the biblical narrative, there's actually, like, really not an historical record of that. So, again, I don't think that doesn't mean that this didn't happen. What I'm saying is, when you, like, focus on that detail, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like, you do a little research and you're like, there's not a lot of records of this going on, Yep. So I just tell people how it is. Tell them the truth, like, and I think that's the bigger thing is, I think we can tell kids stories, and like, even the details that you mentioned, like the wise men not being there, they're not being a star, like, that's the romanticized part of it. Like, just tell them the truth. Like, yeah, those things weren't a part of the story, and your manger scene's jacked up, but that doesn't mean Jesus wasn't born. It doesn't mean that,
Merry Christmas, kids.
Yeah.
I'm still at kids' church.
And I will say, I don't think it's this story necessarily, but I do feel like a lot of the times we, sand off some of the rough edges to make the Bible more palatable to people and, like, an easier story to tell. When, I mean, in reality, it's, like you said, it's messy. There's a lot going on. There's, it's very R-rated. If it were to make, an actual series about the Bible, there's a lot of stuff going on that, and
I think what Penny said with that book, there's so many cultural things that we just don't pick up on because we don't live in. I mean, like, so for the animals, I mean, when we think of houses because we live in houses. Like, their houses weren't. I mean, when you go to Guatemala, you'll see something very similar. I mean, the animals live with the people. Like, they're just open and floor. I mean, there's chickens just walking around your bed at night. There's, I mean, it's very different. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there could have been animals there. That doesn't mean Jesus was born out in some barn. I mean, he could have been born in an extra room in a house. And in their culture, because of the way they lived, they didn't have property. And if you look at the Middle East, I mean, the houses are built on top of each other. Like, I mean, so where do you put your animals? Well, a lot of them live in the house with you. And so, like, that, I mean, there's just little things like that don't change the story, but just we miss because we don't understand cultural things. So,
well, I think, I mean, and this is, of course, just coming from me and my background, I feel like everything was so black and white as a child. Like, they would say, hey, people want to talk about a gray area, but the word is black and white. And then, you start tapping the Bible and say, this is how things are. But there's so much that's like, nuance and things like that, context in the Bible that I didn't start hearing about until I was an adult, because, it's like, well, this is the way it is. This is the way God said it. And you're like, but I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not written in the Bible that way. But like you said, you don't know. If you're looking at it through your 2023 eyes, it's not the same as when it was written. So, yeah. And I mean, this story is a big...
Well, and these stories were also told, I mean, I think it's the biggest thing when we get in, like, Bible. These are oral traditions. So even though these were probably recorded within 30 or 40 years of the events, well, actually, no, it's not true, because they were probably recorded within 30 or 40 years of Jesus' death. So
60 years
so
or so.
60 years or so after these things happen is when these things are being recorded. And the way these things are passed down is through oral traditions, going to eyewitnesses, doing that type of thing. And so I think that, and the Bible acknowledges that. I think people will be shocked by that. The Bible acknowledges at times, like, Luke is going around and trying to find information out. He wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going around and interviewing people and trying to get a report of what happened. And these are the stories that he's being told. That doesn't mean that's exactly how it happened, you know? And so...
it doesn't mean it didn't happen, but, you know, as it goes through, it's not,
I think that goes back to my statement of let the Bible be the Bible. Like, yeah, you want to get into Luke chapter 2 because it is fascinating. I think it's a great, but Luke, I mean, he opens his gospel by saying he's basically going around and asking people to get a report for Theophilus of, what happened. And so it's all secondhand accounts, thirdhand accounts, and he's going around and he's recording these things. And yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, they get real, and it happens in most things in life where you dig in your heels and you get in a camp and then you decide to defend that no matter what. You don't even, at some point you lose, you lose what you're even defending. But, if people say, well, this is just the Bible's made up, this is going on. But they're like, well, there's just as much proof of this going on as a lot of the history books that we have of these time periods and things like that. And you believe those, and you believe all that stuff happened, but then the Bible has to be word for word, hour by hour, perfect. I mean,
yeah.
So they're saying, you know what I mean? Like people get an argument and saying, well, this isn't historically accurate because this didn't happen 100% the way this thing says it was, but we believe everything else that happened in that time. So
yeah.
Any thoughts on? Oh, sorry.
Well, and I think too, even if some of the details are a little fuzzy at times, I mean, you got to think. I mean, we do have two at least not firsthand accounts of Jesus' birth. I mean, we have more about Jesus' birth, even in those short little bits, even if there's pieces of it that are kind of not always fit together nice and neatly, than just about anybody else born in history, like in that time. You know, like that wasn't something people, you know what I'm saying? And so that's the other side of it. It wasn't like this was normative that people were writing about the birth of people,
right?
You know, and so you have some Caesars and stuff, but for the most part, not really. So, I mean, you know, the other thing too is they're kind of putting this together, and it wasn't like this was, you know, normal the way that all this went down and how they would even talk about it.
And so another big thing that it comes up in, we'll cut that out. One of the big things that people really started when I started hearing like these kind of things about not being true, that, you know, Jesus not born on December 25th, 0 AD. Like that's been a big deal where people go, well, BC, before Christ, and, you know, AD, whatever that means, because most people don't know. And, you know, those dates, reading all this stuff, it's very funny to see I'm actually, when this podcast is over and we get out of here, I'd like to, unless Jeremy can tell us, how do they come up with the BC? What, in general, like when was that, why was that ever?
So that comes later. So you got BC and AD. BC, you know, we say for before Christ and after death. That's not actually what those words.
Well, not after, after
that's
death,
actually not what those mean at all.
Latin.
That's what people say.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, and here's the thing. I think that, you know, part of that system comes in, we can't understate how big of an impact Jesus had on the world, whether you believe in him or not.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he literally changed the Roman Empire, which ruled the world, you know? I mean, and so there's so much of that story, and that's why I think the story is so true, is regardless of how he came, and I say to people, Jesus' story should have never made it out of the first century.
Right.
Unless it was true. Because there was other stories of other people that claimed to be, he's not the first one to claim to be the Messiah. Mm-hmm. He's not the first one to claim to have, I mean, there's lots of them. But his story makes it out. And not only does it make it out, it eventually goes on to eventually change the empire, which eventually then changes the world, so to speak. So, I mean, it's a big deal that Jesus was born, that he existed. I mean, no serious scholar is going to deny the fact that Jesus actually existed. And I think that's, you know, but now, then we get into the circumstances of it, and that's where we got to kind of go through the weeds sometime and figure out, you know, what is the Bible saying? How did we get these things and all that stuff? But no, I mean, I think it's a big deal, and I think it changed things for so many people, and so I think it is a big deal that Jesus is born, and I think it's okay that we celebrate the Christmas season because we celebrate the hope that we get in Jesus and God Emmanuel. I think I talk more about rather than sweet baby Jesus, I talk more about God Emmanuel, like God being with us, like that God came here with us. That's the bigger thing I want to focus on, is that he didn't abandon us, you know, that God actually, you know, so anyway.
Yeah. Penny, got any thoughts on any of this stuff? You're just wowed by the intellect of the men in the room.
Just so much happening right now.
I'm still taken back by the fact that you don't like Silent Night. I'm not going to lie. That's like maybe my favorite Christmas song.
I didn't say I don't like it. I just said it was
accurate.
Not a Silent Night. I actually really like the song. It's a
very
pretty song.
There was no background noise. It could have been very silent.
You know, that's true without the planes
Mary
and all
was screaming. I know it.
I mean,
bad. That baby was probably screaming too. So
I think baby Jesus was screaming on
the
way.
I know baby Jesus was screaming. He was a baby.
That's the savior of the world, Penny. He was not screaming.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I'm kidding.
If he's fully man, he's probably not thrilled to be a baby.
Yeah.
You know,
sweet baby
it's
Jesus.
not a fun, being a baby has its perks, but you know.
Perks? There's no perks of being a baby.
People just take care of you. They carry you around. They feed you. I mean,
you don't get a choice on what you eat. You poop all over yourself, and people, I mean,
they clean it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not nothing.
I don't want somebody cleaning me up.
Well, if you pooped yourself, I bet you would.
Yeah.
Listen, this is, I mean, well, we're not going to get into
You said there were perks of being a baby. I see no perks of being a baby.
What do you
You're fully taken care of.
Fully taken care of. No bills, no
You can
nothing.
be a jerk and be like, I want to eat right now, and you get to eat.
And then they give you milk.
Oh.
But I mean,
and they give you formula. Have you tasted formula? It is awful.
But you know what? If all you've had is milk and formula, you've never had a taco or a steak.
And they're like, here, we're going to give you some awful formula, and then here's some peas. Here's some peas for you and some carrots.
I don't think they had a lot of Similac back here in these days either, though. So
my favorite part is all the parents that have probably not had a pea or a carrot in 6 years, like being like, here you go, baby, eat some peas and carrots.
Okay, all right. Well, what do you think about the Merry Xmas, Penny?
What are you talking about?
When people say, when they write out Merry Xmas instead of Merry Christmas, you got any?
It didn't bother me.
Okay.
It actually doesn't mean what people think it means.
Well,
it's actually a symbol that could mean Christ.
Yeah.
This article really does that. That's good. That's another thing that I was brought up with was that you're not taking the Christ out of Christmas. Yeah. No happy holidays, no Merry Xmas, none of that stuff, because that's the war on Christmas. But I did hear, we talked about things that we like this year. There is a song, and I believe it's called King Jesus by KB that we talked about on our pop culture episode. But there's a line in the song that says, people don't care if you keep Christ in Christmas if they can't see that there's Christ in the Christian. And I was like, wow, got you people with you're quick to point out people's flaws when you're,
I think
shopping
so too.
at a Target.
And they're so judgmental. I mean, all of us have taken Christ out of Christmas. I mean, we do the gifts, we do the trees, we do all the over the top things. I'm like, we're all guilty of putting ourselves before the true meaning of Christmas. I'm sorry, we just are.
Well, this has always been my thing as an adult with this and with kids and Christmas and all that we do is that, of course, you should celebrate the birth of Christ and God with us. It's the most important thing that's happened to us. But if you're just doing it the one day a year, you're not doing that great anyway. So we have, a secular Christmas traditions and things like that because we try to keep that in mind all year round. And this is the time of year that we have a tree and we have lights and we have, songs and things like that. But we try to put Christ first in our life the rest of the year as well. So it's not just
true.
And Christmas and Easter only deal.
I know you can't say this across the board. I would imagine most people that I know that I've seen post things or say things about taking Christ out of Christmas are not the people that even regularly attend church. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the ones that just want to get all up in arms about this. And I'm like, well, we'll see you on Sunday, right? Because if you're that upset about it, then,
And for those people, we will see you hopefully this Thursday at 7:00. Wear your ugly sweater. And
I'll be wearing my Kentucky sweatshirt.
Well, that's pretty ugly to some people.
It's ugly to me.
I'll wear my U of L sweatshirt then.
All right then.
And oh man. And then we've got services Sunday at 10 and 11:15 and a special, is it 8:00?
Yeah.
Christmas Eve night.
Yep.
And then that's it. People, it's Christmas coming up. So hopefully you're all ready. Hopefully, if you're ordering Amazon, it's not coming at this point. Walmart probably not coming either. So get out there, get those.
Tell your friends. Go tell it on the Martin.
Go tell on the Martin.
Oh.
Is that I don't get it.
That's down there. I know what he's talking about. I'm going to straight ignore him. Are you high on drugs right now? That's what I want to know.
He kind of is. He has some.
I had a lot of NyQuil.
All right.
Well, I know exactly what he's talking about. I'm just going to straight ignore him.
Okay, well, I will find out this inside joke, and you all have the best Christmas and holidays and whatever. We'll see you in 2024.
Jingity jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La 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 la. Santa's got a little friend, his name is Dominic.